Hey there guys, I'm back to another video. Today I'm here to go and talk about my experience doing speeches about video games in college. So to those who don't know, I started off my first semester of college in September of 2016, so it wasn't that long ago. And for my first semester, I decided to go and do Com 101 and Com 105. And Com 101 is Intro to Communication, and then Com 105 is Public Speaking. Now, why is that weird? Because most people who do or are communications major probably wouldn't start off with Com 101 and then Com 105 in the same semester, because Com 105, public speaking, I feel like that's not a attractive course for a lot of people, especially for their first semester. And I did it because I am very comfortable in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, because I've been doing YouTube for so goddamn long. And I decided to go and do a public speaking class, and obviously it's very different from talking in front of a camera or a microphone, because you're actually talking to people in front of you, and those people may give you some looks, may give you some feedback in some way, whether it's verbally or non-verbally, on your speech and your topic and stuff like that. So my major is communications, obviously, that I'm taking so many communications classes, for my first semester. I'm obviously a communications major, and the reason being is that I want to go and do games journalism when I get out and when I get my degree, because I just want to talk about video games, and I just love video games, and talking about them is just very fun to me, which is why I created this YouTube channel, to just talk about video games. So let's just jump into my speeches. So I'm going to talk about my Com 105 speeches first, which are my public speaking classes. And the reason I am talking about these first is because my Com 101 speech, there's only one, and it happened very close to the end of the semester. So I'll get into that and towards the end of the video. But first up, let's go and talk about my public speaking speeches. So the first one we had to do was she called it a mixed bag speech, which pretty much she wanted you to introduce yourself, what town you're from, and what major you're doing, and then a random fact about you. And my random fact was that I was a YouTuber and I talked about video games on there. So a lot of people did find that interesting, and that was a very fun fact, I guess. And then after that, you had to go and talk about a current event. And my current event was about YouTube's ad-friendly content policy thing, was pushing Philip DeFranco off the site, which obviously wasn't true. It was just, a news topic and a current event that just talked about YouTube in a way that I found to be very interesting, and I was very involved with. Sort of, not really, but I felt that connection as a YouTuber and being on the site for so long as well. And randomly, I did not know this, but when I was doing my speech, that was Philip DeFranco's 10th year anniversary on YouTube. So that was awesome, But moving on to the rest of the mixed bag speech, I had to do a show and tell, and my show and tell was not that interesting. It was just a Wii U game. It was Wii Fit U, and the reason I picked it was because there was some interesting research behind it, where that people who actually do play Wii Fit U have a sufficient amount, it provides a sufficient amount of daily exercise and activity for adults. So I found that to be very interesting. And then for my last thing was my proudest moment, and it's still my proudest moment to this day as a YouTuber and as a content creator on YouTube, being invited to Nintendo's offices in New York City to try out some of their holiday games for that year. And I will put a little thing at the end of the video to that video where I talk about me going to their offices and me giving my impressions on the various games that they allowed us to try out and play. And yeah, it was very fun. I really did enjoy it. And yeah, the next speech was a specific goal speech, and the specific goal speeches pretty much were speeches where you had to do a certain thing, and it was to inform your audience on a certain topic. So the first one was a current event, and I chose Netflix, and I chose the Netflix topic was because at the time Netflix announced that they were going to spend a lot more money in 2017 on their new programs, movies, TV shows, whatever it may be, for their service in 2017 than they did in 2016. So obviously my entire speech wasn't on that. I did give some background information on Netflix itself, and on how they started off, and then on how Netflix became so successful and their numbers, and then the future of Netflix. And that's where I pretty much got into that current event little news story. And then the last speech for specific goals was a passionate speech, and my passionate speech was on League of Legends. And to those who don't know, I love League of Legends. I have been playing League for like plus 4 years now, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. And I'm not gonna lie, it's really, really fun. I would say it's kind of hard to get into just because of the huge community that there is. There's like millions of players, and there's so many players. Obviously there's going to be a lot of, negative players or toxic players, as people will call them. So if you are going to try out League of Legends, I recommend you try it out with a friend, because it is a very fun game. And once you know what you're doing, once you know how the game works and stuff like that, it is very fun. And once you manage to work together as a team, whether it's with your friends or with strangers or whoever it may be, it's very fun, and I love it. So pretty much I just talked about Riot Games to start, and then I talked a little bit about League of Legends in terms of like basics on how like the game works, and then I talked about the success of League of Legends after that. So that was a very, very fun speech, and I think it was very fun for a lot of people, because you actually got to talk about something that you liked and was very passionate about too. So that was probably the most fun I've had talking about something in a long time, especially in school. So and then I believe after that, for Com 105, I think after the passionate speech was the debate. And the debate, there were a bunch of different topics. Some of them were much more serious than others, and ours was probably the most lighthearted out of the bunch. So, like, some people would talk about on how they think that there should be bathrooms for boys and girls, and then one side would choose yes for it, and then the other side would choose no. And our speech was about Marvel versus DC. So our speech was definitely very lighthearted, and I did bring some visual effects, if I can say that. Pretty much a little PowerPoint presentation showing off some characters that looked very similar to Marvel characters. So I was on the side of DC because the people that pointed out, we should do Marvel versus DC, and I just joined in because that was the only one that really appealed to me anyways. So I was on the side of DC, despite me being Team Marvel. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Marvel, but you know what? For this little school project, I had to be on the side of DC, and it was kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie, because the Marvel has been doing a lot right lately, especially with their movies and stuff like that. So I did have to go and dig deep to go and find some things about DC that were better than Marvel. So but that was that for my public speaking class. It was very fun. I really did enjoy it. All of the speeches that I did were pretty fun, and then the debate was just icing on the cake, I thought. So now let's get into the last speech that I did, and that was pretty much the last speech that I've done thus far, because I haven't had to go and write a speech ever since. So it was in my Com 101 class, which is Intro to Communications, and you do one speech because I guess they want you to learn about communicating with people in front of a audience and stuff like that. So by this point, I've already done multiple speeches in my public speaking class, so this speech was pretty easy for me, and it was a informative speech. So I had to go and choose a topic where I wanted to go and inform people on, and I decided to go and inform people on Twitch.tv. And the reason I did that was because when I mentioned it to my professor, pretty much I think it was like a week or so before the actual speech happened, he was like, I want everyone to like stand up one by one and like say their thing, like their topic. And I was like, I want to inform people about Twitch.tv. And my professor looked at me. He was like, what is that? So I'm glad that I did it, and I think that I did a really good job, because like, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people just don't know on how to work computers and don't know on how to do the proper public speaking stuff, which is why me doing this whole public speaking class just helped me so much with this speech, because you're supposed to maintain eye contact, and like a lot of people just didn't do that. They just like stared at their paper or whatever. Like, maintaining eye contact with people is very important, especially when you're doing a speech. But for this speech, he like allowed a lot of people just like stand by the computer and just like read their stuff off, which I think is how a lot of people got away with it, with like not showing eye contact, which is fine. But my Twitch.tv speech, I had like a little PowerPoint presentation with it as well, just like the Marvel versus DC debate. and I pretty much used it as like visuals to go and show off certain things, so like what certain games can be streamed on there, the esports aspect, certain events like press conferences, and then I talked about the chat feature, which is probably one of the main reasons on why Twitch.tv is so popular, the chat feature. And I talked about the exclusive emotes, so like the two that I brought up are probably the most well-known emotes, so Kappa and Bible Thump, and I used those in my PowerPoint presentation just to go and show people what it meant, and I did explain what those emotes meant. So like obviously Bible Thump means, you know, when something sad happens on streamer, and like Kappa is pretty much like a JK. So and then my last point, after I went through what Twitch.tv is and what Twitch.tv is and like that little synopsis, and then the popularity of it, talking about the chat feature and the numbers of Twitch.tv. But my last point was about the success and how successful Twitch.tv is, because Twitch.tv is very successful. You know, it got bought out by Amazon in 2014 for $1 billion. So, and recently they implemented Twitch Prime with Amazon Prime, so that was very cool. And yeah, just like me doing these speeches was very fun and very, you know, enjoyable. So like if you like doing this YouTube stuff, I highly encourage you to, you know, try to look into communications. You know, when you go into college, what do you want to major in? Look into communications, because I feel like that if you like talking about video games and you like being in front of a camera, communications might just be one of the things for you. I don't know. Maybe you want to go somewhere else with it. Maybe you actually want to be a game designer. I don't know, but I'm not saying that you should do communications, but as a YouTuber and as a person that likes to talk about video games a lot, you know, doing this public speaking class and this speech within my Com 101 class was very fun and gave me a lot of experience, and I think has helped me a lot in terms of just talking to you guys and, you know, trying to get my words out a lot better. But, you know, obviously I still stutter and all of this other stuff, you know, say and stuff like that, but, you know, that's just human nature. So what did you guys think about this video? And yeah, so I think that is about it. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys have not already, subscribe. I put new videos up every single Saturday. If you guys want to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, links will be in the description below. I try my best to go and put out updates of my future videos on there. If you guys want to follow me on twitch.tv, you can do that as well. I will try to stream a lot more within the near future, especially during the summer, because I have a huge plan out for the summer in terms of live streaming. So yeah, and I think that's about it. There's some videos on your screen right now. Be sure to click on those, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time with more videos. Game on, gamers.